Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I am here with the Emove Cruiser V2 from Voro Motors, and we are at Phoenix's South Mountain to see if this scooter has what it takes to make it to all three lookout points on this mountain. Now this is the single motor version of this scooter. Voro Motors recently released a dual motor version, which we may look at a future date. But for today, we're cruising around on the 52 volt, 1000 watt version of this scooter. So one of the things that I absolutely love about this scooter is the fact that it's got a gigantic battery at 30 amp hours. So if we take the 52 volt system times the 30 amp hours, that gives us a monster 1,560 watt hours of capacity, which, to be honest with you, is going to be the biggest scooter battery to date that I have tested. Now, I've been cruising around on this scooter for the past week or so, and the best comparison to a car that I can give you is like riding around in a Suburban. This is a big scooter and it weighs in at 80 pounds. I know their website says 74 pounds. I actually threw it on my scale and the whole thing altogether weighs 80 pounds. So definitely a big scooter. Now, one of the benefits of riding around in a bigger scooter with more weight is that it's less likely to get thrown around by lumps and bumps in the road, and it's going to provide for a much more stable riding experience. Another awesome thing about this scooter is the fact that it's got these super wide handlebars, which just adds to the stability that you get with it. Now, we're going to be tracking today's ride with Garmin GPS, which is what I use to track all of my rides up here as well as on my range tests. And at the end of this ride, we'll bring all the data together and see how we did. Now, on the way down the mountain today, we'll have ample opportunity to test out the brakes on this scooter. They use a hybrid type brake, which is basically manual and hydraulic all in one. So you've got manual brake levers, you've got a cable that runs to the back, but in the actual caliper itself, you've got the hydraulic. So we'll see how that does on the downside of the mountain today. Now for this ride, I am cruising around in speed mode 3, which is going to give us the most amount of power. You know, with a lot of these rides, I usually limit the speed to something like 20 miles an hour or so, and that's usually out of a concern of battery capacity. But with this scooter, we're not going to have to worry about that at all because we got lots of juice in the tank. All right, so we're going to be going into quite the hill climb right now. We are making our way towards the shadow of the mountain, which will be a pretty grueling hill climb all the way up until we get up there to the ridge, after which we'll have some relief with a little downhill section, and then it's back into the climb again. For all of you keeping track, we just crossed the 4-mile mark, and we've got approximately 70% battery remaining. I don't think I had this thing fully charged. I think it was around 83% when I left this morning. Unfortunately, I fell asleep a little bit earlier than I thought I was going to last night, and so I forgot to put this on the charger after cruising around the neighborhood. So we are in the shadow of the mountain right now. We are cruising along at approximately 17 miles an hour. So the speedometer looks to be relatively accurate on the scooter. And so far, no problem at all. Now, if we had the dual motor version of this scooter, it would probably be screaming up this mountain right now. But either way, 17 miles an hour, plenty of power. Now, the steepest section is going to be on our way to the third lookout point. So the first one we're going to look at is Dobbins Lookout. Then we're going to head over to Buena Vista Lookout, and if everything goes well, we'll head over to Gila Valley Lookout, which is the highest of the 3 lookout points. Now this Emove Cruiser V2 does come with a full suspension. So far this has been a very comfortable ride. It uses quad air shocks, which so far have done a really good job in my testing. The one little complaint that I have is that they do have a little bit of a recoil, so you can kind of hear them banging around when going over particularly bumpy stuff, especially at higher speeds. But they have been doing a really good job of absorbing all the impact that we've been going over today. So we'll see how it does up ahead, but so far, so good. All right, we are over the ridge, and now we've got a little downhill section, a little bit of relief. Now this scooter does have a top speed, at least stated top speed, of 33 miles an hour, which we'll absolutely be putting to the test. Anyways, we're on a little downhill section right now, and then we'll jump straight back into our climb. And we just crossed the 5 mile mark, and it looks like we've got 76% battery remaining. So battery is definitely not going to be a concern for me on today's ride. All right, so we're heading into a little bit of a steeper section here. So we'll see how this does. Once again, the steepest section is going to be on our way to the 3rd lookout point. So we'll see how, 1,000 watts holds up. So far, so good, maintaining about 14, 15 miles an hour. Right now, we're cranking out about 1,400 watts of peak power coming up this hill. And we made it up, no problem. This is going to be our first lookout point, which is Dobbins Lookout. All right, we made it up. Here's a view of the Emove Cruiser V2. Pretty clear out there. There's the Phoenix metro area. Got the airport out there. Beautiful. And we are off to the next lookout point, which is going to be Buena Vista Lookout. So far, the handling on this scooter is superb. It's one of the first things that I noticed when I picked this up is that it's a very relaxing scooter to cruise around on. It's not getting, thrown around, bounced around, or anything like that. Very solid platform. All right, little downhill section here, then we're gonna go straight back into the climb. As you can see, there's a lot of cracks in the road here, and this scooter does a very good job of absorbing them. Now, special thanks to Melvin at Voro Motors for sending this Emove Cruiser V2 over to me for review purposes. This is actually the first long-range jumbo battery scooter that I've tested on this channel, so you better believe that we're going to be putting this thing through the ringer in terms of our testing. I do plan to do a full range test, which we'll take on our regular range test course where I test all the scooters and e-bikes out on, and we'll see how this stacks up to some of its competition. But I have very high hopes for this scooter given the size of the battery. All right, looks like we've got our second lookout point, Buena Vista Lookout. We're pulling into that right now. This is lookout number 2. Of course, there's our wonderful Emove Cruiser V2. And so far, it's handling this fantastic. And as you can see, we've got another view out there of the Phoenix metro area. So pretty clear day. You can pretty much see the entire valley out here. But one of the things that I love the most about coming out to South Mountain is how quiet it is. Aside from the occasional airplane passing by, it is nearly silent. Let's go ahead and head on over to Gila Valley Lookout, which is going to be our 3rd lookout point. On our way over to lookout number 3. Now, something that I think is really interesting about this Emove Cruiser V2 is the fact that it's been designed with plug and play in mind. And that's huge, because there's a lot of scooters out there that, don't play well to upgrades and customizations. You've got, motor cables soldered in, you don't have quick disconnects, which is absolutely not true for this scooter. This scooter here has got a plug and play design, so that when it's time to, let's say, upgrade to a dual motor version of this scooter, you can just plug in a new motor, plug in a new controller, and you're good to go. And I can't say that for a lot of other scooters on the market today. And this section of the ride, as we get further into it, is going to be the steepest section. So we'll see how this Emove Cruiser V2 handles it. All right, this is one of the steep sections here. Right now we're cruising along at about 13 miles an hour. We'll have another steep one right up ahead, which will take us over a little ridge. Here we go. 14, 13. on your left. I do. It looks so far, yep. All right, looks like we slowed down to 9 miles an hour there, but we made it up and over. It's amazing how many people, when I come up here, are surprised that a scooter will make it to the top. All right, so we've got our third lookout straight ahead on the top of that hill over there. And on the right-hand side, we've got our radio towers. These are the antennas that you can see pretty much from anywhere in the Phoenix Valley. Now, for all of you keeping track, it looks like we just crossed the 9-mile mark. And it looks like, I don't know how accurate this is, 52% battery remaining. You know, I also have this thumb throttle pushed all the way in, so it might not be the most accurate reading at this moment. But here we go, we're going into the steeper section now. Ooh, we're slowing down. 10 miles an hour. Thumb throttle's all the way in. We are in speed mode 3. Pretty much all the default settings on this scooter right now. Haven't tinkered with much, but we are making our way up. All right, we're still cruising around at about 11 miles an hour right now, which, looking at GPS, is also telling us about 11 miles an hour. So far, very accurate readout on the screen. 1,300 watts of peak power. And there is a beautiful view of the valley out there. And this is our home stretch. We are right at the base of the final lookout. Will we make it? We're cruising around 24 miles an hour right now. And there's the sign I love to see. City of Phoenix, South Mountain Preserve, Gila Valley Lookout. And we made it up. There it is, folks. Beautiful view of the valley. Looks like there's a little haze and fog out there. But I'll tell you what, it never gets old. All right, folks. Time to head on down the mountain. So, Emove Cruiser V2 made it to the top, no issue at all. It did slow down a little bit there on the steepest part, but anyways, you know, these inclines here are, I think the steepest section, at least documented, is just over 10% grade. Obviously, you know, if you have a full charge, you're going to be able to tackle some of the more aggressive stuff easier. But anyways, thoroughly impressed with this scooter. Now we are going to have ample opportunity now to test out the brakes on this Emove Cruiser V2. But this thing does come equipped with those hybrid manual / hydraulic brakes with 140 millimeter rotors, both in the front and in the rear. Right now we're letting gravity do the work, about 27 miles an hour. Coming into this turn. And it sounds like we just crossed the 10-mile mark, and it says we've got 66% battery remaining. But once again, I can't stress enough how stable of a platform this is. The suspension does a great job of absorbing impact. The wide handlebars make for a very pleasant ride, and the weight that this scooter has means you're not getting thrown around when you're going over lumps and bumps in the road. Now, if you are interested in picking up one of these scooters, I'll include a link in the description below, as well as any available coupons to try and help out with the price. And if you do use that link to purchase your scooter, it absolutely helps support this channel and helps keep the wheels moving on future reviews. So thank you in advance. Now, if there's something in particular that you would like to see me test out with this scooter, let me know in the comment section below, because I plan to take this thing through the ringer. Here we go, we're coming over to the ridge, and there is Camelback Mountain. And we've got a nice little downhill section for now, and then we're going to go back into the hill climb. That buzzing sound you hear is the brakes. It's the electronic portion of these brakes. And so when I pull the brake levers, you can hear that. Kind of sounds like a cicada. You might have noticed already, but the footage looks a little bit different. I've actually switched over to using a DJI Osmo Action 5. My GoPro has been with me on a lot of adventures, but unfortunately, it's not the most reliable thing. It freezes up, it overheats, it has all kinds of issues. You know, SD card read error, like it's just too much. I couldn't take it anymore. I was spending too much time fiddling around with the footage. Now, out of the box, this scooter is very simple to assemble. You basically just have to attach that rear fender as well as the handlebars to the stem, and that's about it. One thing that I did run into is that out of the box I got a lot of rubbing on the disc in the rear, and so I had to make quite a few adjustments to the brakes, but eventually got it, and now it does really well. Little downhill stretch, and then we'll have a little hill climb over there, and eventually it'll be downhill the rest of the way. You know, I test a lot of commuter scooters up here, and it's a breath of fresh air to see this thing powering through, you know, the inclines as well as the downside of this at a much higher rate of speed. Gets us through our test much quicker. There you go. That rough stuff, you can see, you can hear the recoil on that suspension. So there's no dampening on the recoil. That's why you hear that. But it is comfortable. It's just that noise. But you only hear it when you're going over particularly aggressive bumps at higher rates of speed. All right, we are back in what I call the shadow of the mountain. Not so much of a shadow right here, but nice steep section. I do want to watch out for potholes because sometimes they hide in the shadows here. Right now we're cruising around at about 24, 25 miles an hour. Brakes so far are holding up fantastic. All right, coming into the next little downhill section here. I'm going to take a little pit stop because we've got a nice little view of the Phoenix Metro here. All right, there you go. You can see downtown Phoenix, you know, between these mountains here. Fantastic view, and of course we've got our saguaro cacti all over the place. Let's take a look at this Emove Cruiser. Just hanging out here on the top of a mountain in the desert. All right, enough sightseeing here. Let's continue our way down. Coming into this tight turn. It's like this thing rides on rails, super stable. We just crossed the 14-mile mark, and it looks like we got 56% battery remaining, so plenty in the tank. Now, one thing to mention about this scooter is that if you're coasting and then you hit the throttle, it for a very brief second hesitates a little bit, so you feel the scooter slow down and then it speeds up again. I noticed that right out of the box, and it seems like that's normal behavior for this scooter. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick view of what we just scaled. So up there is South Mountain. Those are the antennas that we just saw. And so we came down this mountain a heck of a lot faster than we went up. But anyways, that's South Mountain, all the lookout points up there, and as you can see, beautiful desert. Anyways, on our way back, so Emove Cruiser V2, I'll tell you what, this is an impressive scooter. So far, I'm absolutely loving it. You know, stable platform, solid speed. You know, this thing will go up to 33 miles an hour, which for my needs is more than fast enough. You know, I'm not one of those speed demons that cruises around at 50 miles an hour. No, thank you. But, you know, it's got good hill climb ability. It's got a monster-sized battery, so which will, of course, we'll be testing out with the range test. And here we are, full throttle right now. 32, 33 miles an hour. Not a problem, and rock solid. No wobbles or any kind of hints of instability at all. And that's what I love about this scooter. In terms of the battery on this thing, they didn't cheap out on the cells either. They use LG 21700 cells in here, so those are high quality, high density cells. The dual motor version of this scooter, it looks like on their website, comes with a 35 amp hour battery, which is one of the things I was concerned about. You know, you add another motor, you're gonna have more power consumption, you're gonna burn through that battery quicker. And so in order to keep to the Emove Cruiser range demon, you know, reputation that this scooter has, they bumped the size of the battery up to help compensate for the increased power consumption. So that's awesome. You know, it would have been easy for them to just throw another, you know, motor on there and keep it at 30 amp hours. But the dual motor version that they sell is 60 volt system. But they will be making a conversion kit. And I think it's priced around 499 bucks. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what I saw, but I'm not 100% positive. All right, so we are back down by the parking area now, which will conclude our ride, and then I'll go ahead and pull the data and show it on the screen here to give you an idea of what we were able to accomplish today in terms of elevation gain, top speed, average moving speed, the whole 9 yards. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our hill climb test with the Emove Cruiser V2. On this particular ride, we went 17.25 miles. We had an average moving speed of 18.8 miles an hour. We hit a max speed of 32.1 miles an hour, an elevation gain of 1,890 feet, and then we were cruising around for about an hour and 5 minutes. So as you can see, very good results with this scooter today. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, or if you'd like to see me test something in particular out. Happy to do that. And if you do want to pick up one of these scooters, I will include a link as well as any available coupons in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.